All right. Welcome to the Rochester Optical and our lab presentation on increasing second pair sales. I'm Doreen Gady, and I'll be reviewing this with you. So I normally like to ask who's my audience. When I'm doing this presentation live, I like to ask how many opticians are in the room, how many staff, how many ODs, who's experienced in sales. And there's a very important reason I ask this question, which I'll get into in a little bit. But it's very important that everyone in the office get involved in the second pair sales. It shouldn't just be the staff, it shouldn't just be the optician, and it shouldn't just be the doctor. Everyone really needs to be involved. And I ask about experience in sales because not everyone is a born salesperson. And sometimes we need to give our staff some of that education in order to truly be good at sales. So we'll talk about that as well. So, why do we want to increase second pair sales? Well, of course, everybody thinks about increased revenue for the office. That's kind of a no-brainer. But what about patient satisfaction? Because really what we want is we want our patients to be satisfied that we thought ahead and gave them options that they didn't even know they needed or they didn't know they wanted. So this is something that really helps to increase your patient satisfaction, is by offering things based on their lifestyle, based on what they do for a living, their hobbies, things like that. They might not even be aware of options that are available. And so that's going to also help with second pair sales, but also truly making your patients a little bit happier. So how do we do this? We include everyone, which again is why I asked in the beginning of the presentation, who is my audience? Is it the staff? Is the optometrist, the optician? And most important, include the patient in this whole decision making. So it's important that offices don't just stream this presentation to the staff. It really does need to include the optician and the optometrist if you have one. And then we have to also include the patient. So good sales always includes the customer. It always includes them in the conversation to determine what are their needs, what are some things that are not being met right now, what are some possible ideas of things that they don't even know is available. So again, make sure everyone in the office is involved in doing second pair sales. So one of the things that I like to review is professional selling skills. So there are 3 steps to that. There's one is ask questions, probe for areas of opportunity. And what I mean by that is you really should have a checklist of questions to kind of find out if there are opportunities to meet the patient's needs. So do you play any sports? What are the hobbies? Where do you work? Are you required to wear any kind of special kind of eyewear at work? Are there anything in your with those glasses that you can't do? So it's important for the staff to be trained on questions. Have a checklist so that you know what questions have been asked, and then ask them if there's anything else. Always have a little area to write information. And then you want to explore the opportunity to see if it's a need. And how do you know if it's a need? A need is if the patient says they want to do something about it. So if the patient comes up with a few things, is that something that you would like your glasses to help you with? Is that something that you have considered in the past? Has anyone ever talked to you about glasses that might be better for you as playing sports? Is there anything like that that might be, an option for you? And then again, with presenting, you only want to present to the products and services and the features and benefits that'll help with what you've already asked the question about. This is basic sales in general. It's not just for your office to talk to your patients. This is in general sales. And a good sales rep that comes into your office should be doing this exactly with you. Should be asking you what your needs might be, looking at opportunities and exploring those opportunities to figure out what we can do to help you. And then in the end, they should really only be presenting to you things that'll meet those needs. And so you want to do the same thing with your patient. And you want to teach the staff how to do that too. You don't want your staff to just start presenting options out to anyone. You want to make sure that it's someone who actually has a need or has expressed a need or has a situation that might be of use. So an example is, do you work or play on the computer a lot? And explore that. Are you, let's look at the opportunity. Do you get eye fatigue after a while from working on the computer or playing on the computer? Then you want to explore it. Are you interested in lens options that help with that? And if they say no, then leave it alone. But if they say yes, that's when you know that you have a need, because the patient acknowledges at least that they have an eye fatigue. And do you want to have help with that? Most of the time, you're not going to get a patient who says no. You're going to get a patient who says yes. I would like to do that. But sometimes they'll say, I don't want to do it with, something that's going to cost me more money. But this is where we need to find the opportunity to talk to them about it. So what's the staff role in this whole process? They're going to ask patient profile questions. Develop a questionnaire for your staff to ask the patient questions. Ask them what insurance coverage they have, if any. Pass on that information. So when they have done their patient questionnaire, that really should be given over then to the next person they see, which would probably be the doctor. So once the staff has talked to them and they go in for the eye exam, that questionnaire should be passed on to the doctor. And then the doctor can look at it and have a conversation with the patient, because who's the number one influencer in an office? The doctor is the number one influencer in the office, right? Especially when it comes to glasses, patients are moved by medical need more so than by fashion for a spare pair or an extra pair. They're going to really want to know that they actually really need it. And they're going to believe the doctor when the doctor tells them. So the doctor should review the questions. The doctor should make recommendations. And then the doctor should hand them off to the optician. And the questionnaire and the patient, after the exam, should be handing them off to the optician and saying, I've recommended such and such to this patient. Can you explain to them the options available? Okay? Those are things that you want to think about, because that will increase the sales for patients. Now we've got the optician. So again, the optician needs to review the profile and the recommendations, review lens and frame options for this patient, and explain the features and benefits. Again, going back to the questionnaire on why it's going to meet those needs. Why is it going to go ahead and help them with any needs that have been identified, either by them or by the doctor? So let's think about the options that are available for second pair and what kind of questions you might want to put on the questionnaire in your office. So occupation-specific emphasis might be something like, do you use a mobile device a lot? Now, of course, that one's not necessarily occupation. That can be for just about anyone that has a cell phone. There is a mobile device. There are progressive lenses for mobile device users. And office workers. You spend long hours at a desk in front of a computer. Safety requirements. Do you work in an environment where you have to sometimes wear safety glasses? And also, do you have any hobbies? And we'll talk about that. So, recreational specific emphasis. Are you sports? Are you in a lot of sports? What kind of sports do you play? Are you into woodworking? Do you take extra precautions with woodworking? What do? Do you put those large plastic ones over your glasses? Would you like glasses where you don't have to do that, or you don't have to put those big plastic ones over? We can get you into a safety pair that look just like a regular pair of glasses. Do you do car restoration? Do you work for an automotive company where you're under the car and there might be metal falling down into your eyes. Again, these are opportunities to sell a second pair to a patient. So ask them what their hobbies are. You want to upgrade your single vision patients. With digital single vision lenses, it's really helpful for wrap frames for sports. You can put, it has good vision from edge to edge on those lenses. And so if you ever talk to someone who does sports, or if you do sports yourself, you know that you need to be able to look around up and down, side to side, and it's really important to have good, clear vision at all the way across that entire lens. Also with the digital single vision, you can add, of course, the anti-reflective, polarized, drive wear. These are all ways you can upgrade them. Wrap frames are particularly important for any kind of sports. And so putting them in a digital single vision really will help improve their vision. It is an improvement over regular single vision. Doesn't cost a lot more, but it is a little bit more, but it really gives them an extra benefit of clear vision from side to side. And then we have the anti-fatigue lenses. For anyone that spends over 6 hours in front of a computer, you really should consider, if they're not presbyopic, they really should be going into an anti-fatigue pair of glasses. Now, that might be an office pair of glasses. Doesn't necessarily mean that their everyday glasses should be anti-fatigue, so that's a good opportunity for a second pair. You can also add blue block on those. Now, I jump real quick back to the digital single vision. With those, if you put drive wear or polarized on them, they're not going to wear them to the office. That will be a second pair. That will be sunglasses. So they can't use that on a regular basis. The anti-fatigue, they can wear them, but usually it's a good idea to have them use those for work. I'm going to give you a little story about my situation I had when my son was younger. He was about 15, starting to like the girls. He was playing hockey, and I took him in for a new pair of glasses. The optician recommended sports glasses, like the red pair here. There's no way my son, who's 15, who's thinking about the girls, wanted to put those on. And yes, I could have forced it to buy those. I could have bought them. But let's face it, at that age, they would have ended up in his bag, and he would have said, "Oops, I forgot, Mom. Forgot to put those on." But what the optician didn't tell me is that I could have bought a pair of safety glasses. That's thinking outside the box. I would have been happy to buy a pair of glasses that looks like the bottom pair there, that looks like a regular pair of glasses. In fact, that looks very similar to what the glasses he was wearing at the time. And I would have been very happy to buy a second pair of safety glasses and put them in his hockey bag that he could have worn when he went out on the ice. So it's important to think outside the box. If someone isn't really interested in one option, there are other options that are available. So think about that when you're doing these, when you're seeing your patients, especially when you're seeing the kids. Talk to the parents about safety. Talk to the parents about protecting their eyes with blue block. It's important to make sure we cover those things. Some of the other options that are available is task-specific emphasis. So there's driving lenses. So if you look at that top bubble there, that is a driving lens that has a very wide and deep distance. There's very little near, but there's a real good amount of intermediate and a really good amount of distance. Now, a lot of people think truck drivers. That's a great one for a truck driver. So yes, that would be a good second pair for a truck driver. However, if you think about those that are retiring and getting campers and Winnebagos and driving across country, that is a good second pair. This is not one they're going to wear all day, every day, but this is a good pair for driving. So that is a good option for them. Crafting is another one. If you're looking at, if you ask about their hobbies and someone does a whole lot of needlepoint, They like to read a lot. They like to do crochet. That might be a patient that would be interested in a pair of glasses just for that they can keep home and keep it on their table when they're doing those things. They may like to have just one that has a much wider reading area as opposed to a distance area. They may even just like a pair of reading glasses with just a little bit up at the top. But you really need to talk to the customer to see what is it that they need and let them know that those options are there, because a lot of them don't even know that options are out there for different designs, for different needs. So it's important to ask them what they have. So the next thing that you need once you've talked to the customer and you've determined that there are some things that you can do to do a second pair sale, you need to make sure that you train your staff. And it's very important to learn how to do that. They need to know how to profile a customer. They need to know what opportunities to listen for. And they need to know how to verify a need. How do we verify a need? We ask if that's something the patient would like to fix or address. That's how we find a need. So it's important, and we recommend role plays. That's what we do for sales training. And if you are going to start doing something like this in your practice, you want to train your staff on sales as well. You can also, instead of calling it sales, you can call it education. You can educate the patients and educate your staff on how to look for these needs. So what do we need to do in training when you're training your staff? Well, you need to make sure that they've got product knowledge of all the options that are out there. Sometimes someone who's new to the industry doesn't have any more knowledge than the patient does. So they need to have the education on what kind of specialty type products are out there. And they need to be able to understand what are the features and what are the benefits. And they need to know how to differentiate and explain it to the patient. What kind of resources do they have? Do we have brochures that are available from the office? Is there any online learning that you can do? Is there a lab rep that can come in and do some training? And also the manufacturer rep can come in and do some training. So look for those different things. So the resources, different companies give you brochures. There could be online learning, kind of like this webinar we're doing now. It's online learning. Those are things that are available. And knowledge is power. So it's really important to make sure that your staff understands those things. Doesn't mean they have to have a long conversation, but they can at least mention to them when they do the brochure, when they do the questionnaire, you know what, you might want to talk to the doctor about such and such. And they can make a note to the doctor to talk to them about that. Or the optician. They need to be able to be educated enough. And then you want to incentivize them. Because if you're going to give them new things to do, you need to give them a reason to do it. So one of the things we recommend is for your staff, if for every, say, questionnaire they get filled out, and for every lead they generate on a second pair sales, offer an incentive. Now this incentive could be from the doctor to the opticians, it could be from the doctor to the staff, or it could be for everyone. You want to make sure you incentivize them and make it kind of fun to do it. Now we don't recommend too much money on this type of thing, because we want this to be a friendly competition. We don't want this to be a unfriendly competition. We don't want them, beating each other up to get more points. So, just use recognition. Sometimes is really all they want. They really just want a good job. You did a good job on that. And sometimes they want a good job and a little something extra. So you can do $5 gift cards. You can do, something like that. There's all kinds of opportunities that you can use to help promote second pair sales. So if someone does get a patient to buy a second pair, then that is something that should be recognized, and it's an achievement. But of course, we want to make sure that it was something the patient needed and wanted, and we can grow the practice that way. Thank you very much.
Yay.
That was caught on there.